I did right here. Okay, so I went ahead and I printed out the stencil. You can see here that I printed out and I cut out just all of the dark areas. And we're looking at the back side here. So that's this image right here. But everything that you can see that is dark, including the lips, I did kind of keep those pieces around me, and we'll use those here in a little bit. I'll kind of show you how that is. But we're going to lay this out. We also have a little Dolly font that I cut out. So what I did is I used to use ChatGPT to make me a good font. I just kind of prompt it to, and kind of actually what I did is I took a picture of the area and I said, hey, I need to put Dolly in this area, and it kind of made something up for me. Printed it out on paper, cut it out, and then I just transferred it over here onto the vinyl. So I didn't even use a vinyl cutter on this. It's all been either X-Acto blade or a razor blade. We have this panel right here. It's all prepped up, ready to go. So what I did is I put some self-etching primer on this after it was clean. I laid some pink base coat on top of that, and then I used a spray metal flake pink on top of that as well. Put about 4 coats of clear coat, and then scuffed it down with 600 grit. So that's where we're at right now. So the plan is, the layout, we got Dolly Parton is going to be roughly, I'm going to sneak her in about right there. And then I'll just go ahead and use this paper cutout. So basically what I did is this is made out of paper. So I laid this on top of the vinyl, and then I sprayed it with my airbrush just to kind of register it, and then I cut it out with an X-Acto blade. It took me about 20 minutes. And I probably could have easily just hooked up my vinyl cutter and did it there too. But that's kind of what I was thinking. So we'll build up this portrait using this stencil, and I'll just kind of show the techniques of, blending. We're going to go back and forth between this shade right here. So that's just basically red base coat with a bunch of white in it to make this pink. So I just made this pink off of those 2 colors, reduced it with urethane reducer to make sure all this paint needs to be super thin. And I'll kind of show that here once we get those loaded up and ready to go. But those are the paints. And that's it. I think we're about ready to go. If anybody has any questions, sorry, I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer all these while we're going. But hey, it looks like we got 250 joules from Brocuda 20. Appreciate that. Laughing Disco. Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to line this out a little bit to kind of create a little bit of a border. I do here. Basically, that's what we started with. There's the metal, and then there it is, base coated and clear coated sanded. I'm going to stick that right there so it kind of holds its place. What I'm doing, I'm just kind of eyeballing this. To give this whole tank just a little bit of a border. Making sure I don't stretch the tape right there. Just enough to be able to pull that edge and keep that down. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there because I know that the graphic's gonna kind of overlay on the top of this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and trim. Okay, just like that. And we'll do one more. So we're going to take this 16th inch and we're going to run it about a 16th inch away. Just keeping an eye on that negative space. Doesn't need to be perfect. Make sure you don't stretch it. Okay. It's a nice border. Trim. All right, looks good. That's all we need for the tape. I'm going to kind of mock this up. That's about where we want that. I definitely want that to overlap the dolly. So yeah, I like that. Those are kind of, make sure we get that straight with that. Okay. We'll take the real guy here. And I'm just going to take some of this transfer tape. You can get both the vinyl and the transfer tape on the Limeline website, or you can just search out Limeline transfer tape on Amazon. Uh-oh. Is that big enough? Nope. Oh. Try it again. There we go. Okay, so we kind of got an idea where we want that. Where the L's are going to overlap, and then it seems like that's just going to drop it into that line. Perfect. I want to try to get the grid straight with the font, if I can. There we go. I feel like having the grid straight will help me line it up better. Definitely having the clear transfer tape rather than the paper tape. The clear is a lot easier to use because you can basically see through it. Okay. Kind of cut this pretty deep. Let's try this side. Oh, hopefully I don't mess this up. This is the only one I got. Jeez, I cut it way too deep. Hold up. Let me get my gloves off. You know it's getting serious when the gloves come off. There we go. If I didn't cut it so deep, it wouldn't be such a problem. It's like Hercules with a X-Acto blade. It's probably cut right through the table. What's going on? There we go. Jeez. What is going on here? Okay. All right. Thanks for hanging in there. Starting to sweat. Oh. Okay. I think we decided I'm gonna get that kind of leveled out. A little bit of an overlap. Want to make sure we lay it down straight and right in the middle. I think I like it right. I think I like it right there. Just using the back side of a blade there. And just getting it enough to, there we go. Beautiful. Nice. Don't got to trim anything there. We'll just leave that. We'll trim this. So trim that so it goes right underneath that. Cool. Okay, so once again, I used this image, printed out too, and I cut out all the dark areas. Not all of them, but like I kind of chunked it up and cut out. There was too much detail in this small of a portrait. If we were to paint this really big, we'd be able to blow up that eye and we'd be able to create a really nice stencil out of that. But considering this is so small, there's only so much we can do. So I just cut out that whole eye, and then I will deal with putting some of the lights and the stuff back into her eye. This one will probably shadow out a little bit more. We don't need to make it exact. Basically, we're just going to use this as reference, and I'm going to do the best I can on this thing. So hopefully it helps you guys out too. Get you guys a little bit farther along. I know these are a little bit harder to do, and a lot of people are discouraged from even trying to do something like this. But let me tell you, this isn't a big deal at all. So I'm going to keep that right over here. Keep that right there so you can look at it too. Tape it down right there. Okay, real quick, I'm going to show you the colors that I'm going to be using. I'm basically just, oh geez, that's not going to work. That glove's not going to work. Basically, I'm using two different colors on this. I'm using a candy hot pink that we're testing right now to add as a new candy color for Limeline. It's a candy hot pink. So I'm testing that. I figured in the testing, hey, this should go pink too. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that same pink. And then I took that pink and I put a couple of drops into a white base coat, and I came up with this lighter pink shade, because you can also tone and tint with your candies. So say like you wanted a pastel pink like this, you can take a little bit of red candy or pink candy in this case, put it into white, and you can make that color. So if you wanted like a pastel kind of a blue, you can always add a little bit of candy to a white, and you can make all these shades of colors. It's a pretty neat trick. I love to do it. So I'm going to use this white and a little bit of candy. I'm going to use that color, and the only other thing I'm going to use is a hot pink, like I said, the hot pink candy concentrate. So this is a transparent color, so you're going to be able to see through this. We're going to paint each one of them differently in different ways, and I'll kind of show you that. One requires a little bit higher air pressure than the other. And then also one thing I want you to pay attention to is the way we start this mural. It starts out, looking pretty good, and then eventually it will get looking worse, and you kind of like, oh, what the heck? But just by going back and forth and knowing when to put the detail, because I'll be airbrushing this completely different when I first start to where I end. So once this is all said and done and you want to go look back at how I was airbrushing when I first started this, and then look at when I get towards the end, how much different the style of airbrushing ends up being like. I start way up here, we're really light and loose, and then it gets into more detail, and then we start doing the detail at the end. A lot of people make the mistake because they want to detail everything out at first. That's not the best approach usually. I mean, it works, depends on, everybody has different styles, and there's more than one way to do it, but the way I kind of do it is just building it up, doing those details last, and you're not going to lose them. Okay, enough talking. Let's do it. We got the candy pink. We got that loaded up in the airbrush right here. So you're going to notice that the candy pink, that we're going to be spraying this at a higher air pressure. So I already have this in the airbrush, and you can see I'm spraying right here. Let me spray over here so you can see too. See how it's just blending out really nice? That's what we're looking for. Something nice so we can blend. The higher the air pressure and the more reduction there is of the paint, the nicer and smoother it's going to lay out. So we're going to make sure we keep our paint super thin, as thin as we can pretty much, to start this, and then we'll build these up. So let's go ahead and get this started. So I'm going to put this right where I want it, because this won't move. This will move, but this is where, when I lay this back down, we're going to lay it back down right in the same spot. So that looks great. I like the overlap right there of the D. I'm going to go ahead. And I'm just going to just lightly register the stencil. I'm going to make it a little bit darker right here and right here, because we're going to end up cutting that out. Oh, if you move it a little bit, just make sure you put it back, right back where it went. It doesn't matter as much right now, but later on in these later stages, it's definitely going to matter. Okay, think that's registered enough. Oh, there we go. Okay, just a nice little silhouette. I'm going to let that one overlap. So Dolly's going to kind of come up underneath um, the words here. And then I do want to cut these guys. I'm going to cut that right there. Because I kind of want the pinstripe to start from underneath. Okay, I think that's gonna look really good. I might end up leafing this. I don't know if I'll do it tonight. We might be too long into this, but yeah, I would love to maybe put some leafing up and around there. Okay, the layout is complete. We're gonna keep that stencil right there, and oh, hold up, making a mess. We don't want bullet holes on Dolly. You know what I mean? Okay, let's do it. Same pink. So like I said, all I'm going to use is that light pink and this candy pink. That's all I'm going to use. I'm going to go back and forth between the two. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just take this same pink. Lightly just build up those pinstripes. And right here, I'm just following the edge. And we'll come back and darken these up a little bit more later. We're just going to nail them now. Make sure it's completely covered. So, oh, a little bit right here. Okay, now that we got that laid out, so pretty much we're good on this side, and we're gonna start building up this. So we're gonna take the same pink, and I'm gonna see my reference right here. This is not the greatest reference in the world, but you can see the shadows here. We got shadowing underneath there, and then just a lot of this hair we're just gonna kind of lighten up and make it look less stenciled. So we're just gonna kind of just blend that in kind of lightly, nothing too crazy. And see, I'm just really light and loose with it. I'm just spraying not that much paint at all. I'm just kind of just blowing it around, making sure that we're getting darker areas here in the cheek. Okay. The great thing is I have white, or this color of pink. I call it white because it's going to look like white when we spray it on here. I'm going to test this out, make sure it's spraying good. See, it's nice blends. This is a lot less air pressure. I don't know if you can hear this compared to what we had. To be honest, I never go by PSI or anything like that. It's always by reduction. Like how thin is the paint will determine, how much air pressure I need, and vice versa. So you can hear this compared to what we were spraying with. I don't know. That's probably really annoying to listen to, but hopefully that helps, because it's never a number. It's about a feel, and that's why you'll always see me making passes like that before I start anything. Okay, same thing. Look at the reference. Where is it the lightest? The bridge of her nose, her cheekbone up here. So we're going to start putting in some of those light colors here now too. What this is going to do is make it look more realistic. We're going to lose some of that metallic underneath, but that's fine. We plan on actually putting a little bit of that back in after. Really bright up over here. I'll make sure we get enough there to keep it light. Moving into the hair. I'm not really drawing hair. I'm just kind of like going with the waves, you know what I mean? So you can see that this hair kind of comes down. But you can see I'm not in there kind of trying to draw every hair. I'm just trying to focus on chunks right now. Just trying to mimic the way that her hair would be falling. We got here, the top of the, what is this right here? Oh, that's her neck. This is the collar. See, I'm just being really soft and really light with it. Okay, getting close. There we go. All right, we kind of lighten that up. Let me put a little more. See right here, it's pretty white. Also our chin. Probably should make sure I get these a little bit lighter right there. Okay, so I talked about earlier, I did pull out a couple of chunks from our stencil. You can see right here. I save them in this cup so they don't blow away. Okay, we got our lips here. And you can see I took the X-Acto blade, and there's a couple of highlights in there, and then there's her white teeth right there. And then there's another little glare on the lips right there. I kind of cut out with the X-Acto blade. So hopefully, see if I can get that. There we go. See how it slips right into there. That's her lips. And then we have her one eyeball. And you can see I just cut out the white in this. And in these ones, I cut out the white and I just folded that over, cut out the white in here. It's the only white I cut out in everything because it was just so detailed with black around it. You would literally end up with just a couple of islands and not know where to put it. So this is going to give us a great guide to lay down so we're able to see where that eye is supposed to be at. And we should even do this actually. Make sure I got that right. Man, I'm going to be here all night moving this stencil around. Let's see. There we go. Probably should have made that just a little bit darker so I can make sure, but it seems like that's going to work. Put the eyeball. And that's exactly where that goes. So we're going to go ahead and let's see if that was a good idea. Oh, that worked. So see how that gave us her eyeball, her pupil. That's what we need. We need some kind of reference so our eyeball's not looking in the wrong direction and we're not just trying to guess. So all we need is just these little road maps to help us out. This one I do want a little bit of the highlight around the edge of the lips. But nice and light, nothing too crazy. Start to see that now we're getting a little more detail put in there. Okay, so now we can see that. We're going to go ahead and go back with the, oh. Hopefully I didn't lose that eyeball. Oh, it's right here. Whew. Okay, keep him in the cup. Okay, so we're going to see the bridge of the nose right there. Make sure we get enough white paint on the top of that. Okay. Still looks nice. Still looks really soft. That's what we're looking for. Nothing too crazy. The nice thing is I'm running 2 airbrushes right now, so I don't have to do any changes. This is going to be so nice. I'm used to actually every time I did this, I would change it back to the other paint, but this is going to save a ton of paint and a ton of time. Okay, I'm going to turn the air pressure down just a little bit. Not too much, though. Keep the air pressure up on the transparent candy. Really, all the detail is mostly done with the white. Well, we can always come back to the white. I need to register this good once I got it on there. Okay. Back it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, right there. Not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of get up there close to some of these edges and help refine. See how like the collar right here is going to be darker on the edge, so that we're going to make sure we kind of hit the edges darker and blend. Blending that way. It's like see the collar on her skin. But we're not going to just fill all this in. You know, we don't want to fill really too much of, we don't really want to hit the stencil much at all right here. Mostly just that cheekbone blended down around the earrings. You see it's all pretty dark right there. Really dark right there. And also remembering the more candy that you lay down, the darker this is going to get. So, you know, we're laying candy on top of candy right now. So the more we do, the darker it's going to keep getting. Okay, around the eye right here, I'm going to be really careful. Trying to keep that right down where it was at. I forgot that eyebrow. Not too crazy on the eyebrow. Going to kind of whisk right through it. Because you can see that the eyebrow is not nearly as dark as what we got here in the with the eyelashes and whatnot. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's see what this. Sure. Oh yeah, that's good. A little more right here. Okay, she's looking better. We're gonna take the same candy, and we're gonna be really light, starting to shade some of this in. Like we want dark right here, right? So I'll kind of point out some of the spots. Dark right here, really dark up into here. See the bottom of the chin right here? It's kind of shaded upwards right there. If you were to look really close, the very edge of her cheekbone would have a little bit of a highlight on the edge of it. So when I do start to shadow these, I try to make sure that if at all possible, and I know sometimes it's hard, but we just try to keep our edges clean is the best way I can say it. If we spray right here down the center, we're going to lose all that detail, and it's going to kind of, and yeah, we can bring it back. We can always go back and forth between the white and the candy like we're doing here, but we're trying to be really soft with this and not do too much. And besides that, if you start getting too much paint on this, it's going to start balling up and it'll start getting a texture to it, and you'll notice the paint's not laying the same. So you want to do it as quickly and as clean as possible, but you do need to go back and forth, many times depending on the kind of detail you want to do. We're trying to keep it nice and soft. And it's going to be nice and soft with all of this as well. And really what we're doing with this candy is we're kind of pushing everything back a little bit. You can see that I'm spraying from way up here. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of pushing that back, everything I have back, because when I go with the white again, it's going to make that, well, I say white, but it's really light pink. When I put that down, it's going to have a contrast there. So being able to stack those up without going too far with shadowing, it's a pretty big deal. We want to get enough shadows in there so we have enough contrast for when the light pink lays back down, but not too much, because we don't want to lose the detail and the brightness we're starting to get. You can see a little bit here in the collar. Maybe it's too bright for you guys, but you can see how there's a little bit of a pattern there. I'm going to start just making sure that there's enough contrast there. When I go back with that light pink, there's enough. Now I'm just kind of lightly, you can see I'm just really pushing this back. Spraying candy over the whole thing. Okay, back to the light pink now. Same thing here. I'm just going to kind of make sure we got this nice and light. Okay, I'm just going to kind of highlight some of those more highlighted areas. A lot of times when I'm painting more detail, it's nice to have this little crown. It exposes the needle, but it makes it so you're able to see the end of the needle when you're painting. Makes it way easier because once now we're starting to get a little bit closer because we're starting to get a little more detail. Okay, we're gonna go back and we're gonna highlight back of this chin a little bit more. I'm going to come into the teeth and just lighten those up just a little bit. Because sometimes it looks a little bit too stenciled as well with the stencil. So it's nice to be able to blend some of that in, kind of take care of some of those hard lines. So my airbrush is about 2 inches away right now. And I'm starting to paint. I'm painting inside of the chunks where it's a little bit lighter. Kind of trying to find the same direction. See how these hairs kind of come up from underneath? Same thing there. And then what we'll do is we'll start breaking out some of these freehand stencils. Once we register this one more time, we'll really start honing this thing in. Personally, I like to kind of jump around. You see how I was over there, and then I'm over here. I kind of like just to bounce around so I can make sure I'm kind of filling things in all together rather than just trying to finish a certain side up and moving over. And start putting in some of these highlights. It's easier to do the highlights like in the earrings. You see how I'm doing like right here. It's easier to do that once you got a little bit of white built up. I'm trying to do those in the earlier stages. There's too much contrast. So sometimes it's nice to be able to whitewash it a little bit with the white, and then come come over on the top and just hit those little highlights all around. Just like right here. Mr. C says it's making sense. Hey, I appreciate that. Because I know sometimes I don't make any sense. But yeah, this, hopefully everybody's getting something from this, because I feel like really what you have to know, a lot of people try to jump into this a little bit too early, but once you can do this with an airbrush, you can start and stop it like that. Just create lines, soft lines, without like something like this. Wisp, wisp, wisp. So I'm always back on and off with the trigger too. You don't have to do that, but it prevents this from happening. So it doesn't have a bunch of like barbells in it. Except for where we need it to, like here, where we're actually putting the dots. The rest of this should all be kind of blended in. Okay, I'm gonna lighten those eyes just a little bit more. Okay, Dolly, I'll use your eyes. Here we go. I think the lips, the teeth look pretty good. Maybe let's see. Maybe I'll just go ahead and do those a little bit too. The trick is to making absolutely sure that it's lined right up with the other. Oh, there goes my eyeball in the cup. There's that smile. You can see I didn't fill it all the way in either, because if you look real close, and we don't need to get all the detail of this, it still looks fine with her teeth like that. But you can see there is more detail in our reference right here than we have there right now. But we'll go in there and we can highlight just a little bit more. We're not going to try to draw those teeth, though. That's where we would make the mistake. Sometimes you have to go with less detail in order not to ruin things. We're going to try to just build this up. If not, it's sometimes you can do those details right before you end up hitting the stencil and cleaning things up. That's a good way to do it too. So let's try to, so that's what we're doing right now. We didn't just line those up with straight white. You can see how I just kind of came in there at this direction with the airbrush and then just kind of like made some of it lighter, not all of it. Hopefully that makes sense. Mr. C, let me know if that makes sense. Okay, eyeball. Gotta make sure I get this right. Am I gonna chance it? No, it looks right. All I need is just a little bit too. Like, so I'm hitting the oh, you can't even see this anymore. The white right here, the white on the other side of the eyeball. And then there's the a little bit of light right here up on the eyelid. You want to be really careful with that one. Don't want it too, you don't want it too sharp of a line right there. Around the eyeball is fine. Like it should be pretty sharp here and here. So that's where we should hit it. On the eyeball that way, on the eyeball that way, and then we'll kind of highlight up over here. Nothing crazy though. No bullet holes. Ready, guys? Just a little bit. There we go. Okay, we liven that up a little bit. That's what we need. Back in the cup you go. Okay, let's go back. We're going to hit our highlighted areas. I'm gonna turn this up just a hair. All right, we're gonna be really careful here. I'm just kind of lightly blending that right there. Super nice and light. Same thing here. It should all be a little bit lighter. Okay, we're gonna grab a stencil now. A couple stencils we're gonna start to use now, because now that we want to keep things a little tighter. Before we were always able to go back and register the stencil again, and we could still do that, but we're getting to the point where we're starting to get a lot more paint down and maybe want to start keeping things a little bit cleaner. What I'm going to do is, this is just the fire stencil from that we have here on Limeline. We take this stencil, works great for stuff like this, though, because you can see all the nice bends and all the nice curves that we can use. There's a couple different sizes, different types. We got this one too, in case none of these work. And these are just used to create a fire effect. But like I said, they will find a lot of different uses. So like even there kind of matches up pretty good. So what we want to do is keep an eye on our reference. It's super bright, like right here, at around the edge of her face, and right here around her neck. We'll go ahead and see how that's pretty much missing. It is missing completely. We want to make sure we have some kind of a hard line there, even if it's not exact. We're going to put it down there. Okay. That one looks like that's working pretty good. Now we don't want to do the whole edge. Like we don't want to go all the way around this thing. We just want to touch on a couple of areas. This made it just a little bit brighter right there. And like I said, guys, all of this is getting a little more detailed, so get a little more careful about where we put paint. What we're going to do here is we're going to kind of, this is a really harsh right here, so we're going to, a little bit of this light pink. Yeah, like I said, this eye we're going to go ahead and we're going to let that kind of shadow out a little bit, but we will put a little bit of highlights where we think we might need just a little bit. And hit these earrings again. Ooh. Remember, guys, like I said earlier, sometimes it has to get to look worse in order for it to look better. So you just got to know that. You got to, I mean, look, I just pretty much wiped out her nose right there. But if you see how whited out her nose is right here, we really need that. Now we don't want a crazy amount of detail in the hair. You can see how it looks chunky. Like the hair looks really good as it is. We're just adding some highlights to the whiter chunks right here. Adding just a little more detail. We kind of just do that a little bit. We don't concentrate too much on the hair because really the stenciled look really lends itself to chunky, realistic looking hair. So we try to keep it kind of stenciled looking. If your airbrush paint ever starts to like splatter or anything like that, you saw how I was kind of just taking my fingernail and cleaning that out. You have to do that every once in a while. And you can see I always use the background to kind of clean and blast out anything that might be gathering up right there. A little bit of paint gets hardened up and then notice it's not spraying correctly. So doing that, double checking your spray pattern, looks good, and then moving on. Okay, at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and start highlighting some things around the dolly. I don't want to do the whole thing. I just kind of want to do like that area right there. I feel like right there needs to be the brightest. Okay, that's looking good. It's looking nice and bright. We're going to go ahead and go back to the candy. Let me show you something real quick with the candies that I talked about earlier. So you can see how you can go really light and it's just kind of light pink. You can go dark to where it's almost going to get black. See that? If I was to do that with the white, let's go ahead and do that. Nice and light. Oh, can you see that? Yeah. Nice and light right there. Really dark. Well, you see it's still, I mean, it's whiter, but you can see that it doesn't change like this does. Candy gathers up and gets darker as more layers get layered on top because it's transparent. Basically, the white, what it's doing is once it gets totally covered, you're just putting more white on the top of it. It's not going to make it darker. It's not going to make it more white. So transparency work different that way. So just so you know that it's not like you hit 3 coats on it, it's going to look the same as if you hit 10 coats on it. It won't. Okay, back to the stencil right here. Whoa, who lined this up last time? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's because, okay, I see what's going on here. Okay, looks like we got it. All right, so basically I'm just going to re-register the stencil, but I'm not going crazy on it. I'm just going to register it where it needs to be registered at. Like edges, only around these edges. I obviously don't want to fill that all the way in. That's the eyeball that I'm trying to save. Just hitting the top of this. See how dark my stencil's getting? See, that's just, that goes to show, you know, the more coats that you do, it's almost starting to look black. Try to keep that in place. Okay, just about there. All right. Okay, once again, we're going to come in and just lightly fade. Same thing, just nice and light. Okay, I'm going to come in here. We're going to darken up a few of these areas right here. We're just going to kind of hone these areas in. Okay, I'm going to go back to the white. The mouth is looking pretty good. It needs to be a little bit wider teeth. We're going to go back and highlight that just again, just a little bit. Make sure I don't lose that. Same thing with the eye there. Once again, I'm just not going to hit the whole area, just kind of a couple areas, just to give it a little bit of texture and a little wider. Got that right? Up just a little bit. Bringing that eyeball back just a little bit. What we also need a little dot right there in the middle of the eye because for a highlight. Need it right there. Better get that in now. Then I'm going to come back. Who's this guy? Light highlights right here. Bridge of the nose. Turn that up just a little bit more. Okay, start bringing in a little bit of detail under the hair. See, I'm getting really close. Not too much though, just need a little bit here and there. Could even use your stencil if you want. Probably a good idea. That's a great idea. I really want her earrings to stand out a little more. Let's get into this. Okay. Okay, I feel like overall a little bit right here is still a little too dark. And be really careful of how much paint we put down. We don't want to white it out. See, her neck's a little dark still. Let's go ahead and brighten that up a little bit. Looking much more realistic with that little highlight right there. And really, I'm just bouncing around now. Kind of looks like, okay, maybe some right there. A little bit of texture in the eyebrows I feel like we need. It's looking pretty good. Okay, I'm going to hit the very edge of this right here. So I kind of wash that out a little bit, but I'll come and hone it in with the stencil a little bit more. Come back in with the white on these. Okay. back to the candy. I'm going to kind of just fade all this in just a little bit. While I have, so there's a little bit of area right here and here. I'm going to go ahead and lay out this lace. In fact, I can probably just do I want that part to land on the open part. Go. Something like that. Hopefully that wasn't too much. Okay. Just a light little dusting. And I'm going to come back, really darken this up. A little area right there. I'm going to go ahead and just a little bit. Did I use all that up? Wow. Okay, so I'm going to be really careful. We're just going to tighten up a couple areas here. One is going to be around the earrings where I put the highlights. And then okay, just kind of tightened up. Now we just need to add a little bit of shadows in certain areas. Go ahead and use our stencil to do that. Just kind of wherever it matches up. Maybe right here. Nice and dark right here because we want a nice shadow here too. Okay. Where are we at? We're at an hour and a half, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pull that off because we're about at that time. Okay, I'll take a look at it and see where we're at. Been good so far. Come on. All right. That looks pretty good. I feel like this needs some highlights. Let's do it. Take our same pink. Okay, we'll probably just use the edge of this for a stencil. All right. A little bit more. spice that up a little bit, and maybe we'll do one. Maybe like here. Yeah, that looks good. Little highlights in the face. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with this. Realistically, if this was like a paid project for a customer or something like that, I would probably go back and forth at least a couple more times with the candy and the white, and I would keep honing it in to make it a little bit better. But this is pretty good. I mean, I feel like I got decent results. Definitely wasn't that hard. Also, a couple of techniques that I do too is like if you start to get where there's too much paint on there, you can always clear coat this and sand it, and then go back with another more detail on top of that. What that does is it smooths out the surface. It makes it nice and a really nice surface to be able to work on again. Because once you start building up these paints, they will start creating a texture, and you'll notice that the paint starts looking different when you start applying it because it's getting applied over a rough textures. Especially if you're airbrushing in like a lot of heat, or say it's really hot in your garage, that paint's drying and kind of balling up and creating that texture. Also, too fast of reducer and too much air pressure could also help cause that same kind of a sandy kind of balled up texture. But really, this actually, I could go back and forth plenty of times on this and still be okay. But yeah, it is starting to build up just a little bit of a texture on it. Okay, hopefully you guys didn't have too many questions because I wasn't here to help you with that. But I can kind of comb through here and see what's up. Oh, let's see. There we go. All right, guys. Any questions? You can ask them now. Oh, and we need to give something away. We are giving away. Let's see. What did we use tonight? Let's go ahead and we'll give away the fire stencils. We'll give away a 3-pack of the fine line tape as well. So hashtag Lyman in the comments. Also, if you have any questions, I'll kind of be looking through real quick to see if there's any questions on what we did. Yeah, so the clear coat, you're right, Mr. C. The clear coat's really going to make this pop. Also, I was thinking maybe running some silver leaf around this edge right there. I feel like this really needs some leafing in there. I would love to have done the leaf in the words, the Dolly words, but it was too much for tonight with the portrait. Yeah, hit that subscribe button if you would, guys. Appreciate that. Also, you can go back and rewatch all of the lives that we've done for many of years. You can go back, and if you're just starting to learn, if you're still, what the? Wind's picking up. If you're still starting to learn, you can always go back and rewatch those. Yeah, and like Mr. C asked about the rhinestones, making the rhinestones in the earrings. You can see there that we just highlighted those like in between. So when you highlight things and you have a stencil that you can register back to, you can always be just a little bit messy with those highlights. I got them pretty much right where I needed them, but when I came back with the stencil, I was able to kind of clean that up a little more. And looking at it on the screen now, there's a few areas I would definitely hone in on and feel like it needs a little more work, but yeah, you're right, Hilliday. With telling Jim, yeah, with a little bit of practice, anybody really can do this. It's not really, it's all about using the airbrush and getting those nice blended dagger strokes is what they call them. Um, basically you should be able to do this. And see, I'm rocking back on the trigger. On, off. On, off. You should be able to do that, and it should be smooth on both sides, not like this. So if you can get to where you're just brushing the paint on like this, curves, curve the other way, that's all I'm doing on all of this is just a bunch of lines just like that. It's basically pencil strokes. On and off, on and off, on and off. Okay. Let me look back at the first of this. Looks amazing. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that. Yeah, the leaf's gonna make it great. So the leaf brings a whole nother look to art pieces. I feel like if you can do leafing and add it into what you've already done, it makes it look like $1,000,000. It adds a lot to it. All right, so it looks like I answered most of your questions throughout all that. If you want to, you can always hit me up on my Instagram, Time Warp Custom Paint. But let's give something away here. If I can figure out. Okay, we got 36 entries. Hopefully you guys can see this. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good luck, everybody. Travis G, 6672. Is that an Acura? What is that? Anyways, you won, buddy. Send us an email, info@limelinepaintsupply.com. You've won a 3-pack of the fine line tape. Also, I'm going to throw in some stencils in there for you. Also, we have some new skull stencils coming. It's like a 9-pack or something. We designed them ourselves. Really love them. I feel like they're going to be great. If those are in, which they're supposed to be on Monday, I'll go ahead and throw those in there for you too, Travis. So the storm is blowing in. And that's it, guys. Ashley should be here next week. And we'll get rolling back on the Mercedes. But thanks for being here. Appreciate it. See you next time.